Hi, I'm Dan Smigrod, founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. Today is Wednesday, December 13th, 2017, and you're watching WGAN-TV live at 5. Super excited to have a great show with you today. Panoskin for Newbies joining me today in the virtual studio audience. First, we have Wojciech Kalambasa, and Wojciech is the CEO and founder of Panoskin. LCP 360 is the parent company. And joining him, Tom Chomiak, who is the co-founder and CTO. And then, Tom, good to see you. And then also in the studio with us today is Chris Hickman, Metroplex 360 founder. Chris does a lot with 360. I thought it'd be great to have him on as a co-host today to help maybe provide some color commentary, ask some questions that just I wouldn't have a clue about. So great. Good to see you all. And I think we have Brenda, who's just popped in and is in our virtual studio audience as well. So Wojciech, before we actually get into a Panoskin for Newbies demo, why don't you just kind of fill us in a little bit about what Panoskin is at the big picture level?
Sure. So maybe before talking about what it is today, I just kind of quick recap of how we started Panoskin and where it came from and what it became today. Dan, like you mentioned, I originally started a company called LCP 360, and we became an agency for Google about 6 years ago. And we've been in the program for quite a bit of time. And we were providing virtual tours for many different verticals. And a few years in, we sort of settled on one specific vertical, which was the multifamily industry and under the sort of commercial real estate arm. And that's kind of where we focus most of our energy. Anyways, so we've been providing Google content, so creating 360 virtual tours, putting them on Google Street View, so sort of Street View, but for indoors, right? And we realized that we needed to kind of start offering something additional. We wanted to bring more value to the table, and we noticed that our clients weren't using this content for anything other than just putting it on Google Street View. So I started talking with Tom Chomiak, who is now our CTO. And co-founder of Panoskin, and we talked about creating a tool that would allow us over at LCP 360 be able to provide more value. And so we created Panoskin. Panoskin, essentially, what it allowed us to do was to create custom virtual tours out of existing Google tours, okay, without taking the content out of the Google ecosystem, if you will, and providing a custom experience that our customers could now share on their website, their social media, all while we were able to track the engagement that happened within our tours. So now our multifamily customers, when they got a virtual tour from us, not only could we help them understand the engagement that they were getting on Google, but we can also show them and explain to them the engagement that they were getting on their website. And so that engagement ended up turning into more of additional conversions for their business on their website. So we started providing a lot more value there. Now, kind of fast forward a little bit, Google had a moderator tool that we were all using, and I think most people are familiar with it, but basically the moderator tool was a way for content creators to get their content up on Google Maps. Well, they deprecated that moderator tool and announced about less than a year ago, that they were no longer going to support it. And they reached out to a few companies, and we were one of them. They knew we already had Panoskin, and they asked us, would we be interested in adding a component to Panoskin that would allow us to publish our content directly to Google Maps on our own. So that got us really excited, because we started thinking a little bit larger. Instead of just keeping Panoskin as an internal tool for LCP to use, we thought, why not build this as a community tool and offer it to the rest of the world and give them a way to easily be able to take their content, their 360 content, get it up on Google Maps, and then from the published, once it's published, create a custom virtual tour for their clients that they can then share on their social media, put it on their websites, and so on. And be able to offer that same type of value that we as LCP were offering. So that's kind of what Panoskin is today. It's become an end-to-end solution for any content creator that wants to get their content up on Google Maps, and in a very short in the future, we're also going to offer a builder that's going to allow them to create these custom experiences that I'll show you guys in a little bit of what they'll be able to provide their customers. So hope that answers the question.
Yeah, that's a terrific introduction. And I think it would be helpful, even before we get into the demo, perhaps Wojciech or Tom, if we could take a look at what the final product looks like. So maybe let's just, so that we're just on the same page, let's take a look at a Google Street View.
Sure.
And then let's take a look at what that tour looks like when you delivered it as a private solution.
Definitely. So, and Tom, if you want to chime in at any moment, please feel free. But I basically will start with one of our customers, Bizzuto Group. They own a property called the Hepburn. The Hepburn is a Class A multifamily property in the DC area. So what I did was I just Googled the Hepburn DC, and I'll refresh this page to show everyone what shows up. So on a regular Google search, you'll see on the left side, this is pretty normal to see, the website, possibly some sort of advertisement, and maybe other websites that link to a property called the Hepburn. But on the right side, you'll notice the knowledge graph. And the knowledge graph is really sort of the best way to think about it is like a yellow page listing for your business. So every business out there that wants any kind of exposure or any kind of like relevance on Google needs to have this knowledge graph. And the best part, it's free. So to sign up and create a basic version of your knowledge graph, it's absolutely free, and every business should have it. So what we do is we help enhance this knowledge graph by adding content to it. So instead of it just being, so I should back up a little bit. So when I say content, I'm talking about still photography and 360 photography. And the important thing to remember is content for Google in these knowledge graphs comes from 3 different areas. It'll either be user submitted, because Google is basically opened up to everybody. So any potential, let's say in this property in particular, a resident can take a snapshot of their living room, while they're sitting on their couch, and upload it to this places page or this knowledge graph. So that's one place from just user content. The second place is the owner can add content to the page, and that's where we kind of step in. We help the owner add content and add this digital content onto this page to enhance the listing itself. And then the third place is ILSs, third-party advertisers can add content to this page too. Now, the bad thing about that is that content, once it's added by a third party, it links back to that third party. So if I'm a business owner, my best approach here is to make sure that I have great content, unique content, and then I have it on this page so it links back to my website, not anybody else's. So if you're watching my screen, I'm going to click on the See Photos section. And so this is where the content lives. And Google organizes it a little bit differently depending on what kind of part of the country you're from, what version you're running. They're constantly tweaking this. But on the left side, you'll see, if I click on the All section, this is all the content that's here. And one thing you'll notice right away is that there is 360 content available, and that's denoted by this little icon here, this little 360 icon. So if I click on one of these, and this is one of my favorites, this is a rooftop.
Wow.
That's on this property.
It's beautiful.
It's a pretty cool place. If I kind of scroll down, there's other media I can click on. So there's still photography. And one thing you'll notice is, I mentioned before, LCP360 is our production company. So LCP creates the content for multifamily. So you'll notice that a lot of the first set of images that show up on this listing are provided by us. And that's really what we help. We help try to kind of push that user content, well, not user content. We try to publish, we want to make sure that our customers' brand and image is what they want it to be on Google. So we try to put as much relevant, fresh, and beautiful content on these pages as we can. So the
And
360.
and excuse me, and in that top left-hand corner, I was seeing two different brands, the client's brand and your brand. So Google allows that option.
Definitely, yes. And we also have the option. What we've started doing is transferring the images that we upload to our customers, or letting them upload it directly. So it shows up as owner provided photos. Because what we're starting to notice is that owner submitted content tends to float to the top, especially if it's high end.
Yes, the only thing I would add to that, guys, is when you do transfer ownership, if you've got that tour within Panoskin, the way it works is a copy of that tour is made. So the copy of the tour is kept within Panoskin, but the tour that was transferred is a copy that's reserved for the owner. So it makes it a little bit harder to make changes to the tour if you do transfer ownership. So it's just something to take into consideration.
And I think that's, so we typically, when we transfer rights, we'll do the still photos, but we'll keep the 360 content under our name, so we can continue to manage it quickly while using Panoskin.
You know, I know when the three of us were in Tokyo at the 2017 Google Street View Summit back in May 2017, Charles Armstrong, I think one of the product managers for Google Street View, hinted at that the owner of the content would have a higher priority in pushing it up in search, as you've described. So that's something for us, I think, all to keep an eye on. Is that really the case? And how does that affect maybe some of our business decisions, perhaps even in terms of pricing of how we charge a client, if we're going to give up the right, the intellectual property rights, copyright, to our content, to our clients, to be able to publish it.
Sure. Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense. This is sort of the where the content ends up. So Dan, maybe what I'll do is now I'll show kind of the end result of this content being put on Panoskin and ending up on our client's website.
Great.
So I'm going to back out of here. So this was the knowledge graph. I accessed the imagery by clicking See Photos. I can also click See Inside, but like many of us know, the See Inside is going away. It'll probably be replaced with something else. But for the time being, most content that's uploaded to a knowledge graph can be accessed through the See Photos section or the actual Google Maps. So you can click on the Maps icon as well.
Wojciech, before you click on the Hepburn on their website, do you maybe want to mention just really quickly why exactly we put stuff into Panoskin, and the reason for this is because within Google Maps the experience is very canned, and it's the same experience for every business, and as you saw with the images, you really don't have control over how the stuff is organized. Google ranks the images in a certain order, and sometimes it makes it hard to navigate. So that was part of the reason why we wanted to build Panoskin, was to be able to take that experience, make sure you have all the content up on Google, but also organize it better, and make it more of a custom experience. It can be embedded both on social media, shared directly, or put into your website.
Definitely.
Yeah, Wojciech, I'd also ask, we actually didn't look at a Google Street View experience. We looked at some single 360s. Could you just take us back into,
Sure.
really, I want to do this for newbies. If we use the name Google Street View, they should really see an example of what that looks like.
Agreed. So I click on the Google Maps section, and then here on the left, because I am looking at the Hepburn, this is a different way the knowledge graph shows up. And right at the bottom, you'll see your Street View options. Now, these Street View options are actual inside view options. So as I click on it, it'll take us inside. And actually, it just happens to be the same panorama. But I'm going to go to one of the different areas just to kind of show you what it looks like. So this I recognize as the lobby. So I can actually walk through and make my way outside. But if you do notice, kind of like Tom mentioned, you can't really control this experience as much. You kind of tend to kind of fly around different areas. Don't really know where you are within the building. Let me click on a different level here. And these levels here on the right side, denote actually different levels that we've shot within this property. So this is, probably a, 30+ story building, but we've shot, about 6 different levels within it. So if I click on number 4, let's say, it'll take us to what looks like the yoga cycling area. So fitness gym probably. So as I click on these little arrows, it moves me across the space, just like Street View would. And really similar. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of Matterport users watching this. The experience is similar to what you would get with Matterport, where you kind of move from area to area, giving you a feeling or a sense of being inside the space itself.
Yeah, now, Wojciech, I think of this as Google Street View. Is there yet a different name of what this is called? Because it's not Google outside on a street making this. It happens to be indoors at a business.
No, so Google actually before had 2 separate teams. Now they've kind of combined us under one. So this is technically called Google Street View. But the way I explain it to customers, I say Street View for indoors, just to have them understand what I'm trying to do. So a lot of people know what Street View is and how it works and the kind of the concept behind it. But when I say Street View indoors, now they know, okay, you're walking inside and you're mapping out the interior of the space and you're walking sort of like you would walk down the street.
Okay, great. So we're now looking at Google Street View. Google would call that Google Street View. For clarity in discussion with your clients is to use the metaphor is it is Google Street View for indoors.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you for clarifying that.
No problem. Okay, so this is what the experience looks like on Google. And kind of like Tom mentioned earlier, there's not much you can customize on this on Google itself. They created their way of showing this type of content, and it kind of is what it is. You're able to upload it through our publisher and get it here. And from here, our clients, wanted a way to be able to reuse this content, but keep the same experience, same kind of walkthrough feel like Street View, but on their website. So I'm going to back out.
So great. Now we're going to take a look at the same thing, but how it's presented on the client's website using Panoskin.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I'm going to Google the Hepburn, and the first link that pops up is their website, thehepburndc.com. That'll take us to their homepage. And so we work with our clients and their web development companies to properly embed these virtual tours on their website. And I can't stress how important that is, because where the tour is placed, you'll either end up with a lot of engagement or you'll end up with not that great of engagement. So we work with these web development companies to make sure Panoskin is embedded correctly. And the beauty behind Panoskin is that it can be embedded anywhere. It's super lightweight. And I'm sure Tom could talk a little bit more from the technical perspective, but we have not run into a web company that says we can't embed this.
Okay, well let's take a look at one first before we'll I guess take a look at the cake before we look at how the cake was made and what the ingredients are.
So I'm going to click on the virtual tour button here on the top right.
Okay, right on the top of the front page of the Hepburn.
Yep.
Okay.
So immediately you'll notice some differences. So the top bar is still part of the website, but everything below is Panoskin. And so we start with this nice little, intro screen that just says, welcome to the Hepburn. It says the Hepburn, welcome to the Hepburn 360 virtual tour. And you can click on Start 360 Tour or go full screen. So I'll click Start Virtual Tour. And in this case, it starts me right at the front of the building. And this is the client gets to choose how the experience, how this tour is experienced. So now as I walk through the space, it's sort of it's a much more controlled experience. And I can also use thumbnails at the bottom, which are labeled and organized based on the client's request. And so you can jump around different areas. So we can walk into one of their game rooms here.
And I should point out that things may look a little bit slower, just the magic of technology of having 5 or 6 of us on a simultaneous video chat. So there's going to be some latency in terms of as Wojciech or Tom does a demo for us. Not a reflection of their service, just simply a reflection of the reality of we're doing our best with the technology we got in order to have everybody on a video chat and share this with you.
Sure, that's a good point. Thank you. So I'll just show one more little different area just to kind of show, a couple, features that we offer. But, I'll click on the Model 1 unit. I like showing this example because it's very clean. It includes a map at the top left that's interactive. So as I move through the space, I know exactly which way I'm looking and what I'm looking at. And this helps Bozzuto with their, with their online leasing. We essentially, the virtual tour, if you think from just a real estate perspective, if you have customers that are interested in your space, they go onto their website, and this virtual tour acts as that first representative. And so our virtual tour in this case acts as the first leasing agent that is touching that customer and educating them on the space and getting them excited about looking at the space. So the better this experience is, the cleaner it is, the better it works on mobile. It's extremely important because all those things will lead to a person staying on the tour, being engaged with it longer, which hopefully will end up leading to higher engagement rates. And we've been able to successfully show that within multifamily because we are essentially this tour is being this software Panoskin is being used on enterprise level. And that's what gets us really excited about sharing this with the community because, this won't just work in the multifamily vertical. This can work in many different verticals, hospitality, healthcare, entertainment. There's just so many different areas that this can be used in.
Terrific. So now this window that we're looking at, do we call that Panoskin? Do we call that something else? Is it Panoskin Player, Panoskin?
So
I was just going to. That's Panoskin. So that's what Panoskin started as, and Dan, the Panoskin that is the publisher. This is the custom builder, but this is what it started as, and this is what we are going to be releasing to the community as well.
So is this called? Is the back end called Custom Builder? Called Builder, Panoskin Builder? I'm just trying to help understand what the different pieces of the puzzle are.
Sure. So it'll be Builder. So there's going to be 2 components to Panoskin, the publisher and the builder. The publisher allows you to get your content up on Google, and the builder allows you to take that content and repurpose it into a custom experience that can be then shared on a social media page or embedded on a website.
So I think of Builder as the mechanism for actually publishing what we're looking at. Is there yet another name for what this embed is? Is the Panoskin Player, the Panoskin Guide, the Panoskin?
Sure, just Panoskin.
Just Panoskin. Okay.
I mean, we call it Viewer internally. We call it the Panoskin Viewer. So yes. It's
okay. So I'm going to use that informally as the Panoskin Viewer. Okay.
And if you notice, so one thing I definitely want to show is when I close the menu of the viewer, you'll notice that the Google icon on the left. So all this content is being pulled directly from Google Maps, which helps with our clients' SEO. And that's the biggest benefit because all this content already lives on Google Maps. And now we're simply pulling it and using the API to call out the images and create this custom experience on their website.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's worth mentioning too, though, Dan, is that we can pull in custom scenes as well. So if there's scenes that you don't want to have on Google, we can pull them into this experience as well and link all of it together. So
forgive me, I'm a newbie at this. So you tell me scene, is that a 360? Is that 360s that are linked together? Is that a photo?
Yes, so a 360 photo. So effectively, the 360 scene you're currently in right now. So these scenes that Wojciech just showed you also live on Google, and we are pulling them directly from Google. And what that does is it helps with the SEO. But there might be certain scenes that you might not want to have available on Google Maps. And with Panoskin, you can build hybrid tours. You can both pull scenes from Google or you load in your own custom tours as custom scenes, and you can actually link them together as well. So it provides you the opportunity of doing both. Does that make sense, Dan?
Yes, it's very exciting to hear that actually, Tom, because it, you know, that SEO thing means something to me to say, oh, this is not just a separate tour and it's unrelated to Google. No, you get the benefit of any traffic that's going. Are your clients happy with that? Having they want the Google counter to be higher so that this content actually moves higher on Google rather than the person on the fifth floor took a selfie with their dog.
They do, and we're actually so then we're actually working on some case studies with some of our clients that we are once we do release it, we're going to share it with the community that actually, you know, shows the value of this, but also will help sell this product to your own clients. So we are going to be releasing a white paper about that.
Okay, terrific. I hope you send it so that we can publish it in the We Get Around Network forum and add it to this discussion. We'll post this when we get done. We'll post this video of WGAN TV live at 5, Panoskin for Newbies in the We Get Around Network forum. We'd love to be able to link to that white paper either from your site or from ours. Okay, so I'm in the Panoskin viewer and I see some other icons off on the right side. Do you want to take us through what else you got? And I see some menu items in the top right. I don't know, I guess actually those are not part of the virtual tour. That was the menu that was part of the Hepburn. So I see some more things on the right, and then I see some tabs in the bottom left.
Yes. So what we have on the right is we have a variety of different call to action buttons that are custom or that our tours can have within them. And it really just depends on our clients and what they want to have on that menu. So in this case, there's a little info button. If I click on that, it'll give me a little blurb about the Hepburn and the address and the phone number. If I click on the Lease Now button, that will then take the client, if they're interested in the space, they can go right to the form and fill out the form for an on-site visit, or perhaps send an email to the property itself. So this is where we start helping kind of convert those leads.
So connect would be, it might go to a lead generation page or an email, and the tour means to book an in-person tour, presumably. Yep. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
And you can control the amount of buttons and the labeling you use on there as well. So that was just language that our client wanted to use, but that's all that's controllable.
Okay.
There's a share button here where you can share a direct link to the tour itself. You can post it on Facebook, your LinkedIn, G+ or Twitter. So that's useful in a lot of different instances. If someone's on a tour and they want to share it with someone.
I do have some questions on your social sharing without necessarily taking us to those individual shares. If I embed this in Facebook, is there a still image and it's got some kind of arrow to indicate that it's a 360?
So typically our clients, Dan, what they do is they embed the tours in their business pages. So you can actually embed the live tour.
A little bit different question though. So yes. Let's definitely do what you're describing, but I'm just curious, if I posted it to Facebook, will it automatically have the gyro experience?
It won't, because so the Facebook timeline doesn't support 360 full 360 tours. You could drop an image in there and it'll show you the 360 image, but it doesn't support a full 360 walkthrough tour. It used to before.
So will it drop in an image? Is there a screen grab or a snapshot for Facebook?
So it should do an image. I don't know what you have set for this tour. It may just be the link. It really depends on what you set for within the tour settings. So in this instance, it looks like it's like that metadata wasn't added to this tour. So, but
is that something that we would have the option if we wanted to add a still image, a snapshot from that? And then if so, would I know that it's actually a 360 as opposed to, oh, it's just an edited photo?
Sure. Well, you know what, actually, so Dan, the way it works now is it pulls the metadata from the tour. But what we could do, and it's actually a great suggestion, is when you share to Facebook, you can maybe select the 360 image that you want it to use. And that way, Facebook will detect that it's a 360 image and it'll show you the 360 image and maybe have a blurb about it as well, within the description that links to this tour.
Okay, so that would kind of be the same question for LinkedIn, Google Plus, and Twitter, is how do you handle the imagery related to those different platforms?
Sure.
So I think right now what we're doing is just sharing this live link. So it's as if you would take this link and then paste it right into your timeline. You have the same kind of thing happening. So
okay.
but what you suggested, I think, is a great suggestion for us to kind of think in the future how else we can make this a little bit more intuitive, or not intuitive, but more more intuitive on the social platform itself once it's on there, that people know it's a virtual tour, they can click on it. So
okay, great. So that's sharing, and then I see a full screen option. On the bottom left, I see two tabs, images and tour. So the tours, that's the 360s that we're looking at.
Yep.
Or we might call them a scene. So it's a scene within the tour.
Yes. So Panoskin can actually display three types of content: still imagery, 360 tours like we're looking at right now on Google Street View, and video. So if the property had a video tab here, which they don't have any videos currently, you would be able to click on a video tab and then look through the different videos that they're offering for viewers to look at. And those can be pulled through YouTube or Vimeo as well.
Okay.
So in this case, we have an image tab. So I'm going to click on the image tab. And what you'll notice is just a typical image gallery that can be embedded right within Panoskin. So someone can go through and just kind of jump around and go through all the different images that were part of this page or part of this property.
And are you able to annotate the environment? You annotated with text. That was the question mark with the info. But if you wanted to have a link to a video, I'm in the kitchen and I'm looking at the appliances, and up pops the salesperson that tells me about the kitchen and the appliances and what comes and what the upgrade options are, whatever it might be. So
Sure.
I don't know what the word would be. Tag, link.
I think you're referring to Hotspots, Dan. So that
Yeah.
is we're going to be releasing with the custom builder to the community as well. So you will be able to hotspot different areas within the 360. If you click on it, it'll either give you a blurb or open up a video, like you said, or show some type of image.
Okay. Today's Wednesday, December 13th, 2017. So some of the stuff we're looking at exists today and some things are coming. So when you describe the builder, is that kind of a January 2018?
That is a 2018 initiative. So that's our next big rollout. So we just recently, last night, we released the pro version of the publisher, and now we're switching gears into the custom builder, so we can release that to the community.
Okay, cool. Custom builder. And so when you talk about, Tom, when you talk about hotspots, could you just rattle off the kinds of things that you'd be able to use a hotspot for, to annotate within a scene or within a 360, or for that matter, maybe that's even within a photo? I don't even know the answer to that.
Sure. So the hotspots that you're referring to would actually be within the 360 scenes. So the way we kind of envision it is, as you're panning around the scene, you can have a little icon hovering over a certain area, maybe over a piece of furniture or over some type of photo on the wall. And if you click on it, it'll either give you some type of information, some little blurb with some more information, maybe play some audio, an audio clip for you, or launch a video that you can watch. So that's pretty much it. It's just like you described. It's just a way to annotate the current scene that you're within.
Okay, cool. Are we up to, okay, we've looked at the cake. We've looked at the groom's cake, the bride's cake. Is there yet another cake to look at before we get into the ingredients and how it's made?
Well, I think so. The last thing is just the back end that we, where we actually prove the value of this cake. So the analytics that are coming from this virtual tour that's on Google, and then analytics that are coming from the custom side. But actually, before I even go there, or before I let Tom go there, I do want to show you this tour and how it looks like on Facebook. So if I Google the Hepburn DC Facebook.
And so this is what you're showing us is not a post to Facebook, but an embed, a separate page off of the client's page. A
Yes,
tab?
off of this would be off of their business page. So right directly within their business page, they can add a tab called Virtual Tour.
Mm-hmm.
And when I click on that, it'll show you the Panoskin and the Street View tour embedded right on their business page that they can then share.
Terrific. And you called that, it was a tab?
Yeah, so we don't actually have like a special name for it. We just we tell our customers that we will embed their virtual tour on their Facebook business page.
Okay, that's fantastic. I love seeing that, so I look forward to seeing how on the back end, how hard or easy it is to do that. Do you mind just taking it off screen share just for a moment? Because
Sure.
I just want to say to all, I'm Dan Smigrod. I'm the founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. Today is Wednesday, December 13th, 2017. You're watching WGAN TV live at 5, and our guest today from Panoskin is Wojciech Kalambasa. He is the founder and CEO. And also joining us is Tom Chomiak, who is co-founder and CTO, Chief Technology Officer. And also joining me as co-host today, Metroplex 360 founder Chris Hickman in Dallas, Fort Worth. And so we're actually talking to Tom and Wojciech in Chicago. Great. So are we up to the point where you're going to take us through a Panoskin demo for newbies and see what the back end looks like of how these three things that you just, okay, great.
Yeah. So I think before we dive into that, Dan, though, the only one other thing I'd just like to mention with what you were showing with the Facebook embed is you can embed that tour really anywhere, any website, any blog, any social media platform that allows you to, place some code in there. And the really nice part about it is that, at least that our clients, they've been telling us is that if you change the content out in one place, it changes out everywhere. So it'll change out on your Facebook, it'll change out on your website, it'll change out on Google Maps. So that's another value add of actually using Panoskin. Is that when you manage the content in one area, it really iterates across all the other channels. So.
Tom, I know I introduced you as CTO, but are you sure you don't have that title of business development or something there? Because you keep hitting all these benefits of Panoskin is part of what you're doing here. So I love that because I think, oh my gosh, if you gave something to the client and then you made a small change and they had to go change it in 5 or 10 different places, what a nightmare that is. So, how exciting that you change it on the back end and it populates the change everywhere. Yeah, very exciting.
Awesome. All right, Dan. What I'm going to do now is I'll share my screen and sort of before I go through a full experience of signing up for Panoskin and going through the intro to newbies, I just like to show you that tour that Wojciech was showing you, and show you what it looks like on the back end.
Okay, and so right now we are at Panoskin.com, Panoskin.com, Panoskin.com.
That is correct, yes. So I'm logged into a dashboard right now, and I'm within my clients section, and I search for this particular client, which is Bozzuto. And as you can see here, now this experience is going to look a little bit different than for our users because we haven't released all the features yet. But when we do release them, you're going to see a very similar interface. You'll be able to control the amount of users that client has, so you'll be able to create user logins for them. You'll be able to see how many visits they've been getting across some of their tours. In addition to that, you'll be able to see their Google tours, which is what most of the community has been using now, where they're building the tours using the publisher. And you'll also be able to see some of the custom tours they could build for them. And in this case, I'm going to click into the custom tour section, and I'm going to scroll down to the tour that Wojciech was showing, which is called the Hepburn. It's a little further down here. So once I click into that tour, you can see that same exact tour that Wojciech was showing on the website is loading into the Panoskin dashboard. And I can do certain things. I can view the actual final experience to see what it looks like. I can go into the analytics and click on the analytics and look at that. And as you can see, this particular tour had about 10,000 visits and 144,000 views with 2,000 clicks and 244 conversions. And if I scroll a little further down, I see that's drilled down more by scene as well. So I can see that the entrance had about 11,000 visits, The model unit had about 6,700, and I can actually even click on that actual scene, and it opens up for me, and I can view the scene that was viewed that many times. So the nice part about this is that our clients have access to this too. So when you create a user login for them, they have limited control over what they can control within the tour, but they can certainly view the analytics and the tour that you've built for them. So any questions so far, Dan?
That's terrific. I assume that visits are sort of kind of unique visits
Yes.
from an IP address, perhaps.
Yes.
So it's sort of kind of unique in that says on looking at those numbers, the average unique visitor looked at about 14 different scenes.
Yes,
that's correct. So the engagement rate is just through the roof on these tours, and our clients are seeing the same thing. And it's worth noting that these analytics that you see here, these are custom analytics. This is a custom analytics platform that Panoskin has, and we have a lot more information, and we'll be releasing a reporting tool with it that we'll be able to drill down even further. But we also work with Google Analytics. So in addition to firing the custom analytics, every time a scene is being viewed, Panoskin will detect if Google Analytics is embedded within that website. And if it is, it actually communicates with the Google Analytics also. So our clients are able to make some detailed reports on their end. And they've been seeing just tremendous value in these tours, tremendous engagement and conversions from them.
Does the Facebook data get counted in this dashboard?
It does. It does. And one of the ways we're going to be parsing the data, which you can't do it with the interface here just yet, is by source. So you'll be able to see how many people are coming from Facebook, how many people are coming from your website or any other platform that you've embedded the tour
in. Terrific.
In addition to that, you can see a user access tab here, which I won't click on because it would show the usernames for some of these users. But you can actually control what tours each user can view. So for some of our larger clients, maybe their marketing team might want access to all the tours. But they might want certain users at certain properties only will view certain tours. So you can actually control that access.
Okay.
And if I click on the share tab here, this is what it does. It gives you some embed code that you can embed into really any website. And it's as simple as just copying and pasting some 2 steps here where
it's a little bit small, I'm sure, for our viewers. So I'm going to read that. Step 1 is to create the following container within your web page. So I barely understand any of this. So what do I do? What is a container and where do I put that?
Sure. So by container, is basically just a div, a divider within the website. So literally, I mean, if you just copy and paste this code, if you've got some type of WYSIWYG editor on, let's say WordPress, if you were to paste this in,
wherever it's asking for a code block, I'm going to paste that.
Yes, and if you have a little coding experience, you can also customize some of the CSS to make it look different if you like.
Yes,
this is recommended CSS that you can literally just copy and paste.
Okay, and then the second, it says add the following JavaScript snippet before the end of your closing body tag, open and close brackets body. So do I need to do both these steps?
You do. So for the second step, that's the recommended placement. But I mean, you could paste this code snippet directly into the same place where you pasted the first code snippet.
So if it said code, place your code here, if I copied both and put them in the same spot, it would still accomplish whatever this is accomplishing.
That is correct. Yes, it'll load the tour for you.
Okay, and then just take a moment, if you would, for somebody who's an experienced person, maybe just speak for a moment about this code to maybe even Chris. Chris probably looks at it and says, I get it. I don't need an explanation. Chris, you got a question on this?
Oh, no. I will point out, though, that I love the JavaScript at the end of the body. It makes this a non-blocking element that loads in the page, which is really good for SEO. This is also the way that Google instructs people to include analytics. So I really appreciate the Panoskin are following good form with this.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that.
Yeah, terrific. I'd have no clue how to even think of that question. So thank you, Chris, for pointing that out. Okay, great. Back to you, Tom.
Sure. So Dan, I don't know if there's anything else you want me to mention here. I mean, for experienced people like Chris, It's literally just one method call. It's panoskin.createViewer. You pass in the ID of the divider and the ID of the tour, and it creates the tour for you. So it's very simple, doesn't conflict with any other libraries, so it'll work on any website. Yeah, I mean, it's a really simple ad.
Is this related to the tab on Facebook, or is that a separate process?
So this is related to the tab on Facebook. When we create the tabs there, we have the opportunity of pasting in some code, and this is the exact code we paste in. We just drop it in there and it loads the tour into Facebook.
It's that easy.
It's that easy.
So I go into my Facebook page, into some kind of editor mode, and look for something that says add tab and then something that says add code.
Yes, and we actually have an article that we shared with the community. I believe it's in our blog, and I could share that with you too, Dan. That walks you through the exact process. Because for you to be able to add a tab into Facebook, you do have to install some type of application that's available through the Facebook store. But once you do that, it's as simple as just clicking on, adding the tab, clicking edit, and dropping in the code.
So Tom, in your spare time, if you don't mind, if you could post to the We Get Around Network forum a new discussion on how to publish Panoskin tab to Facebook. Badly said, but whatever that is, and here are the 3 steps. Go get this application, blah blah. I mean, I think that would be tremendously helpful to say, here's an example of Panoskin as embedded in a Facebook tab, and here's how we did that.
Will do. Thank you, Dan.
Okay, I know you don't have enough things on your CTO roadmap in order to launch on January, but maybe we'll get a little bit of diversion there for you.
The article's already created, so I'll definitely go in there and share it. It's
okay, great.
What's working on my end.
Okay, great.
The last tab I just want to show you here is the meeting tab, and this is something that we demoed at the Street View conference. If I click Start Meeting,
that was in Tokyo in 2017, May of 2017, when you took the stage.
Yes, that is correct. And what this is it's a proprietary meeting tool that we created. It's kind of like some of the meeting platforms out there already. Only it doesn't require you to install any software. It's entirely web-based. So you can literally share a link to the meeting with someone. They can open it on their phone, and you can start walking the space. And as you walk the space, you take them through that experience as well. So in this instance, the way I invite someone is just by clicking the plus icon here and entering their email address and then mailing the invitation out.
Could you invite me?
I could, yeah, sure. So Dan, I don't know your email.
Dan at we-get.
Is it .net or .com?
No. Get we-get around.com.
Okay. So I'm going to click plus here. Mail the invitation.
Okay.
Getting something.
Okay, so I'm checking my iPhone right now for it. Let's see.
Yeah, maybe it makes sense to share your screen on your computer though, so I can kind of just show me controlling your screen. Is that worthwhile?
Of what I will receive on my end?
Yes.
Yeah. As soon as that email comes in, I'll try that.
You can also do it on your cell phone. Just put your cell phone up to your camera too.
Yeah. So I have my iPhone here, still waiting for the that to come in.
I'm not sure I got the email right here. So is it dan@wegetaround.com?
Yep. Yep, that looks right. Pythagorean theorem of demos or something, that there's always something that prevents us. So
you guys want to send me? Do you guys want to send me an invite too? And I'll see if I get it.
Sure.
Chris at metroplex360.com. There we go.
Okay, the race is on. Is Dan or Chris going to get it first?
Dan, check your clutter if you have a filter for.
Yeah, it could show up as like promotion or something like that.
Oh yeah, I have a lot of filters. Sorry. It's certainly a good question.
Yes, I don't know if you can see. It looks like Chris just joined. So you can see it says here that he connected. You can see the organizer. So Chris, maybe it makes sense to share your screen. Can you do that for us? I'll stop sharing right now.
So the green button at the bottom there, Chris, says share screen, and you can limit the share just to the screen that's open as well. Starting, waiting on organizer.
Yep. So as you can see, it says waiting on organizer. And let me actually exit out of this so I can. And as I start panning around, Chris, you should start seeing your screen move.
Yeah, there we go. I do.
So whose screen are we looking at right now?
Chris's.
That's Chris. That's your screen.
That is my screen.
Isn't that amazing? So so Tom, how does your client use this capability?
Well, they use it for leasing. So if you've got someone on the phone and you want to show them a few properties, you can send them the link and walk them through the space. So they're getting a lot of sight unseen leases using this tool, and it's been tremendous value for them.
Their leasing agents will use the meeting tool when people call in to set up an appointment. And if they can't get them in that day, they'll ask them, do you want me to walk you through the property and tell you a little bit more about it? And so they'll while they have them on the phone, they'll send them this email, and then while they're talking with them, they're walking them through the space. So literally virtually walking them through the property and getting them excited about it and saying, okay, now do you want to come in? Do you want to potentially lease in our space? And what Tom was saying earlier is a lot of people, will lease a property like this sight unseen, because if they're moving from, let's say, Chicago to DC, they might not want to make the trip just to look at apartments. Or if they do, they want to narrow it down so they can see, the ones they want to see within a few hours. So this helps tremendously to help that.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's awesome. So it's a one-on-one screen share virtual tour.
Yep.
Does this have a name?
Yeah.
It's just a meeting tool right now. We haven't officially named it. It's just a meeting tab, and we are looking for a name. So if you have any suggestions, we're open.
We get around.
I like that. That sounds good.
I like that too, but I mean, I don't know if
We'll license it to you.
So, and it's definitely worth mentioning, this tool will be available to our Panoskin members once our the custom builder tour is built. This meeting tool will be available as well.
It's looking at it, I go, oh, I mean, I literally am tingling. I go, that is really exciting. I mean, that's what this is all about, is to say, okay, why should somebody get on a plane from Chicago to Washington to go look at a unit where they literally could look at the unit and go, yeah, I'll take it. And okay, and then not everybody's going to necessarily self-activate to go do that. So how great that the leasing agent can say, let me just walk in. Oh, the two-bedroom open floor plan's not working for you. Let me show you the two-bedroom loft or whatever it is. Yep. Yeah. Just, amazing. This is awesome.
I was just going to say, because it looks like Chris is typing something. I don't know if he's having trouble with his microphone, but he wrote, "Are there any options?" So I can't really speak to all the features we'll be releasing with the meeting tool, but I can tell you one of them that we're certainly working on is being able to mark up areas within the experience. So as you're navigating, circling or marking up different areas while you're walking the client through the space.
Okay, so I think what Chris is demonstrating here, that not only can you both see the screen, he's sharing a text message for whatever reason. He's typing away, showing you that you have a window. Okay, terrific. Thank you.
Awesome.
All right.
So Chris, maybe it's worth me sharing my screen again, so that way I can walk everyone through just how to get started with Panoskin.
So Chris, at the very top, there should, I think yep, you got it. Thank you.
There we go.
Awesome.
And by the way, Dan, you didn't get to see that because it wasn't on your computer, but that was very smooth. How, I don't know if it was Tom controlling or Wojciech, but the panos were moving very smoothly around, just as it was displaying on their screen. We were totally in sync.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Chris.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Chris. All right, so you guys should see my screen again.
Okay, we're back to panoskin.com.
Guys, bear with me for 1 second. I just want to see if I could just minimize our meeting tool. Cool. All right, so so the way to get started with Panoskin is to just go to panoskin.com. And if you're a photographer, you'll want to click on the photographer tab, and that'll take you to our sign up form. Now it's worth mentioning there's also this business tab here. If you click on this, it just talks about a little bit about Panoskin and what it is. And it talks about our photographer network that we have. And what we actually plan on doing is releasing a tool where businesses will be able to search for photographers. So you just by using Panoskin, you may be getting leads from our website. So that's why that page is here, the business page.
Okay, so that is if you want to find a Panoskin tour photographer, there's a page for that.
That is correct. Yes.
Okay, great.
Now going back,
as soon as I sign up as a photographer, am I automatically in the database?
You were in there so long as you provide your location information, and you'll see that in the sign up process.
Do I need to be a paid person, or I can be part of the free? I know we haven't jumped ahead a little bit on pricing, but can I just sign up today, no charge, and I'm in the directory?
So we haven't ironed out all the details of exactly what being part of the global network will be like, but that is all going to come with our release of the builder, sometime next year. And just to clarify, the builder probably won't be available until the beginning of the beginning of second quarter 2018. So it'll take a little bit of time. But big picture is, once we build this community of photographers, we want to share that with the world. And we want to share that professional network of these content creators. And one way that we're planning on doing that is to have this sort of marketplace open for anyone that's part of our network. And we are going to have a rating system, and we are going to do a lot of different things that, let's say I'm a customer and I'm looking for someone in a specific area, and here's a list of 10 photographers, they'll be able to, see these people's, photography, see how they're rated, see any kind of portfolio that they might have available. So a lot of these things are kind of these big ideas that we have that are coming in the near future.
Okay, I missed. I think Wojciech, I'm hearing from you. Panoskin Builder second quarter 2018. Tom, what's coming in January? What did I miss?
So in January we're effectively starting the development of the builder.
Okay.
What you said, it is going to take a little time to finish all this stuff. So that's tentatively what we're aiming for, is to have beginning of second quarter. To have everything available to the community.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Cool. So as a photographer, the way you get started is you click on the photographer button, which takes you to this page here. And then you just click sign up. And what that does is it takes you to our sign up process. So we ask you for some very basic information, just for your first name, last name. Now we do ask you to choose an account name and a username. So what I'd like to clarify, account name is basically the account that's within Panoskin. And username is the user that you're going to use to log into Panoskin. And the reason we have you specify both is because when you set up an account with Panoskin, you can create multiple users. So if you're an organization such as an agency, you might have 10 different users using Panoskin, but it's all nested under one account. So typically, you might want to use your company name. So in this example, I'm just gonna use WGAN demo account for the account name.
I like that name. It has a nice ring to it.
Thank you.
We'll license that to you.
You'll need to sign up.
Well, I guess that username is taken.
And it's actually worth mentioning. This username does have to be unique. And then we just ask you if you're a photographer or an agency. In this case, I'm going to say that I'm a photographer. And then I click sign up. And once that's done, I should be getting an email to the email address that I signed up with.
Mm-hmm.
So let's give it a minute here.
So you even created a Gmail for this.
I did, yes. So as you can see here, you know, I just got an email that says, welcome to Panoskin. It says, hi, Tom, and you just have to click confirm. And once that's done, it takes you straight into Panoskin. Now, Dan, the reason we do this where we have a sign-up process is because you can manage multiple accounts. And equally, you can create users for some of your clients if you want them logging in, and you can control access. So that's another thing that Panoskin offers, is it offers an access control system, which we haven't fully released to the community yet. But when we do, they're going to be able to control different users, what they can view, what they can see. So it's truly an enterprise tool. So the first thing we see is just a welcome step, which just welcomes you to Panoskin. Click continue. And then the second step, in order for me to publish to Google, I have to publish on behalf of my Google account. So that basically just asks you to authorize one of your Gmail accounts that you'd like to publish with for Panoskin. So the way you do that is just click authorize, and then it'll open up a window and ask you which account you want to use. So in this instance, I'm going to use the We Get Around demo account that I created. Mm-hmm. Click allow. And then the third step, what you want to do is just confirm some of your information. So, confirming your account name, your first name, last name, email, and then choosing a password for Panoskin.
So is that password for Panoskin, or was that for Google?
That was my own separate Panoskin password. I do recommend having a different password than you do for other areas, because it's a good practice to have a separate password. But again, Dan, the reason you have to do that is because if, let's say, you create a user for one of your clients and you want them logging in and viewing one of their tours and analytics on their tours, they may not have a Gmail. They may just have some type of company email. So that's why we have our own authorization system.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
And in this step, we do ask just for your location. And this is where, once you've provided your location, you're going to be part of that network. You're going to be part of that network map. And when we release the marketplace, like what you was talking about, you will show up in search. You'll have your own profile, and it'll show all the tours you've worked on, and your rating as well.
Okay, so this is enter your company name or street address.
Yes. So in this instance, I'm gonna just enter LCP360. It found our business. And then I click continue. And then the last step is just the terms of the site for Panoskin. So feel free to read through those. You do have to scroll to the bottom, and you do have to click accept. And then after that, you're ready to get started. Now, Dan. So I know there might be some users that are already using Panoskin that are tuned in. There was a change last night. We pushed Panoskin Pro into production. So a lot of the users, they see this upgrade to Pro option. In addition to that, after you've completed the welcome step, if I were just to log out and log back in, I just want to show you upon second login, or if you're an existing user, if you log in, so let me grab the email address that I had before. Okay. It's not. It's supposed to show you a welcome screen, but I know why it's not. So if you just give me 1 second, because I've already viewed it before. It only shows it to you once per day, if you viewed it. So just give me a quick second here. It's gotta clear something out. I'm just going to pause the music there. But basically, if you're already a Panoskin member and you logged in today, you've probably seen this window. Equally, if you just signed up upon your second login, you'll see this window pop up. And basically, what this is it's just welcoming you to Panoskin Pro. The Pro features, they're going to be available for completely free for anyone, whether you just signed up or whether you've been using Panoskin for 6 months. They're going to be available completely for free. And we'll get into some of the options, because you can either go with a free account, or you can end up signing up for Panoskin Pro. And maybe we could discuss that when we talk about the pricing.
Okay.
So once you're in Panoskin, the first screen you have here is the dashboard. And this is really just a place to kind of just show you, how you're doing and how awesome you are. It shows you the amount of clients that you have, the amount of Google tours you've created, how many administrative users you have for your account, and the number of tours that you've published, and number of scenes that you've published. So Dan, I'm just going to take a minute to pause. Do you have any questions so far?
Straightforward. This is awesome.
Dan, I think you may be on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. So do you have any questions?
Thank you for asking it. It's awesome. I'm just taking it all in. It's great.
Cool. Thank you.
Very straightforward.
So I guess to get started, if you want to get started with publishing tours, all you really have to do is just click Create Tour. And maybe even before I do that, it's worth mentioning there is an Intro to Panoskin button here. If you do click this, it'll load an introductory video for you. Now the video is a little old because it is when we first released Panoskin to the community. We are probably going to be releasing a newer video, but it's still worth watching if you're just getting started with Panoskin. So now I'm just going to click Create Tour. And that takes me to the builder, the tour builder. And in this instance, I have two options. I can either create a new tour or I can import an old tour. So let's say that you were either using some other publishing tool or you publish some tours with Google's moderator, old moderator, and you want to import that tour into Panoskin. You can do that with the import tool. In this case,
one thing, Tom?
Sure.
Just because we are here with We Get Around and it is a big Matterport community, it is definitely worth mentioning that once you're able to import or create Google tours from your Matterport experiences, if you like what you see with Panoskin, the custom builder, the analytics, all the other bells and whistles that we offer, you'll be able to use this import function to import your Matterport tours that you put up on Google, and then use Panoskin as if you had built the tour in Panoskin originally.
Whoa, we have to say this really slowly and carefully because this is like super exciting. And shh, let's not tell Matterport. So let me see if I got this right. I go shoot a commercial space and with Matterport, and I publish it to Google. As soon as it's on Google, I can download it into Panoskin, and now everything that I see within Panoskin in terms of the analytics and how I create the tour, if I would prefer that, the Panoskin player for our client's website, I can do that as a Matterport photographer once Matterport enables publishing to Google Street View. And I would say that will happen no later than Inman Connect, New York City, 2017, when Matterport CEO Bill Brown takes the stage, which I believe he's going to be with you, Wojciech, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. So everything you said is absolutely true.
So that's really fascinating. So I'm just like I'm just trying to take that in to go, oh my gosh, I don't have to export all these 360s from Matterport, which, oh, by the way, seem to be downloaded as low resolution, not the highest resolution. Chris, you may want to correct me on this if I'm wrong. Is Matterport allowing the full resolution of the 360s to be downloaded?
Not right now. The 360 snapshots are not even downloading. They're being generated real time using JavaScript, and it's kind of using trickery to generate them. They're not.
When I download if I go into Matterport Workshop and I download a 360 as an equirectangular, that's not the full resolution that is available. No. It's not. Okay. So the way I can get, presumably, the full resolution is upload it to Google Street View, and from Google Street View, I can now export that or I should say, import it into Panoskin. Yeah,
that's correct. And just to show you how easy it'll be, if I click import an old tour, well, once I do that, the second step is to select the client that you want to actually create this tour for. And the reason we do this, Dan, is everything's organized under the client level. And as you saw earlier with our Bozzuto client, the reason we do that is because it nests everything underneath there. You can nest all the users, all the custom tours, all the Google tours. It's just a way to organize all the information. Now you can really name it anything you want. And I'm just going to call this test client. You can even use some type of ID for your clients, but it's just a way to kind of nest all the information. So once I've done that, and the third step, I have to either search for the business name that I want to import, or just drop in the CID.
And CID stands for?
So I don't know the exact. I presume it stands for client ID. It's so that I don't know if this document.
It's a unique identifier number that is unique to Google Street View for a tour or a scene or.
So it's unique. It's unique to a business page. So
unique to a business page. Okay.
So I don't know what the original engineers what their intention was for it to stand for. I mean, my guess would be
they took out a game of Scrabble, threw some letters out on the table, and in the first three that got picked up was CID.
Pretty much. Maybe. So I either paste that in, or I could search for the business. As you can see, it found the business here on the map, and then I just click import tour. Oh, in this instance, I can't import the tour because I don't own the tour.
I was going to say, I went, whoa, that's interesting.
Yeah, so it detected it that that I'm not the owner, so it's not letting me.
So the Gmail account needs to be one and the same, unless we go through an approval process for the client to release it to me in order to have permission to do that.
That is correct. Yes. So the person importing the tour either had to have published it, or you need to get the rights transferred to you. Okay. And since this is a new account that we just created, and obviously this tour the rights weren't transferred, I didn't create this tour, I can't import it.
So Tom, I know you're going to take us back to the beginning, create new tour, but I still just wanted to give Wojciech one more opportunity to talk about the Matterport to Panoskin. Did you have any specific use cases where you thought that made total sense for a Matterport photographer to use Panoskin?
Well, so, it just really depends on what, what industry they're in, what they're, what the client at the end is looking for. I'm not as familiar with the back end and offering of Matterport as I'm sure you are. But, our tooling is probably a little bit different. The analytics that we provide are probably a little bit different. And I think if you have a client that is interested in having their content on Google Maps already, they might be interested in what Panoskin offers, because we really work hand in hand with what Google's already offering. And that's what makes us different than what you can, get with the with the Matterport tour. So in terms of actual use cases, not yet, because as you mentioned, officially Matterport is not importing or exporting their tours onto Google Maps. But I think, once that starts happening, we would love it if the Matterport community had a chance to sign up for Panoskin and give it a shot and see if they find some uses for it. Like, for example, the mirroring tool, right? That's a tool that no one else is offering at the moment. And if you are in an industry where that could be used, then this could be the answer for your client.
I think I might take it another just step. First, I love the mirroring. So the meetings feature that you showed, that would enable meetings to take place within a Matterport space now that actually lives in Panoskin. But my mind is racing on this because it just seems so interesting. I could imagine that I shoot a room that has all mirrors, and the mirrors are showing the Matterport camera, and the client is, bazonkers about not showing the camera. Then I could publish it to Google Street View, download it to Panoskin. Presumably, I now have my equi-rectangular JPEGs, my individual 360 scenes. Clean those up in Photoshop or Lightroom, then publish it back to Street View, and also have the advantage in the meeting example that you were giving. Yeah.
You could, absolutely. And actually, one of the features that we do offer is once you import a tool or a tour, or you publish a tour, you always have that ability to download those images, those panoramas. So, like you mentioned, you can absolutely do that. You import, then you essentially upload to Google, you download back to Panoskin, download everything, edit it, and re-upload it.
I'm with you. Let's do that. That's exciting. Up and down, up and down. I made a note. We'll start a discussion in the We Get Around Network forum at the appropriate time to say, hey, this is something that's doable. What would you use it for? I'll suggest a couple that you just brought out. One about the meetings, and the second one I mentioned was about being able to actually edit the images, and see if there's an interesting discussion on that. Chris, did you have a question or a comment on that before Tom moves on?
Sure. As I'm sure everyone knows, Matterport has a more of a smooth 3D experience than Google Street View right now. But I know, because I've paid attention to the videos from the Google Street View Summit, that Google's looking for that VR ready experience. And I'm sure you guys are maybe thinking about what that's going to look like when you guys begin incorporating that. What do you, with both Matterport and even NC Tech supporting it, do you anticipate that Panoskin might be able to import that and also offer a 3D experience with Google Street View?
Tom, what do you think?
Sorry.
Yes.
Well, you do want him to repeat the question. I know you may have gotten distracted by your incoming instant.
I did. My wife just sent me a text message, guys.
Chris, could you re-ask that question? I think I was focusing on that message that was coming in myself, so even good for me to rehear it.
No worries, Tom Mochek. As we all learned from Google Street View Summit, there's some more technologies coming out in the future from Google, including VR Ready. Now, Matterport will be participating with VR Ready, so will NC Tech, which will be combining 3D data into the Google Street View tour. Now, I assume you guys have been talking about this a bit because Panoskin will want to take advantage of that. I imagine that when people import a Matterport tour in the future that's gone to Street View and then into Panoskin, that hopefully we'll be able to see 3D data then on the Panoskin platform, because your platform is based on Google. And I just wanted to find out what your thoughts were on that, and anything you want to say.
Sure. So Chris, on the custom builder, where we're pulling in that custom experience, we are working with Google's viewer. So we are also limited to whether or not the Google viewer will support that or not. However, what I can speak to is we are also working on creating a custom viewer. And that is something that we certainly would have working with it. So it's definitely on our radar, but there are some certain limitations with overlays and working with Google's viewer. Does that answer your question?
Well, I think Google's viewer is going to incorporate 3D in the future as part of the VR Ready
sure. And
space.
And I can't really speak to their engineers what the roadmap is. Mm-hmm. But as soon as it is, it will certainly be showing up in Panoskin as well.
Excellent. That you guys get to inherit that, which is going to be exciting because that's going to unlock a lot of things. And again, it's going to be even more. You guys will be able to be a value add to Matterport users even more, because then people say, well, look, it feels just like Matterport now because it's the VR ready Google experience. It feels 3D. There's nothing but good reasons to use Panoskin in addition.
So let me just see if I could clarify, because today's show is Panoskin for newbies, and I think this is a great question for like way beyond newbies. But I think if I'm hearing Chris correctly, that today when you upload a tour to Google Street View, you have a scene and you have another scene, and when you walk from here to here, you sort of kind of jump because there's no in between. And that what the Matterport camera is doing is creating the extrapolation of the in-between so that you can feel like you have a smoother transition from this scene to this scene with kind of this make-believe data. Am I saying that okay, Chris? Sorta?
Yeah, sort of.
I'm making it up on the fly. And that today, Google may support either no data, or I would say a limited set of data, but the plan is to be able to have all that data that the camera captures to kind of smooth that transition as I walk through, so I don't feel like I'm going from scene to black to scene or scene to here in some jump, but more in a more natural walking through experience. And so I think that's what we're talking about, is perhaps phase 7 of maybe Panoskin being able to take advantage of the fact that the Matterport data, or NC Tech, or whomever it might be, is uploading not only the scenes, the 360 rectangular JPEGs, but uploading the data, and it's that data that'll be able to be presumably downloaded by anyone like Panoskin, and then you may be able to take advantage of the data within the Panoskin environment. Okay, that's like such an advanced, interesting conversation for another day. Maybe we'll come back on that one, unless you wanted to comment.
The only comment I want to make is that what NC Tech is doing is really exciting, and from what they were showing us at the Street View Summit earlier this year, and I think that technology, alongside of Matterport's technology, I mean, 3D is definitely, I think, the future, and it's going to move in that direction, and we're going to be ready for it for sure. I think you know, the answer is yes, just a matter of time.
Okay, great. Tom, back to you. Thank you, Chris.
Awesome. So Dan, I guess getting back to where we were before, you have the option of either creating a new tour or importing an old one. So in this instance, I'm going to click the create a new tour step. And that does ask me to select a client that I want to actually create this tour for. And again, it's just a way of organizing your tours. So if you've got, you know, X client and you've created 10 tours for them, it's just a way to nest all that there into one area. So in this instance, I'm just going to put test client 2, click next. And at that point, we want to actually find the business we want to post to. So I'm just going to post this to our LCP360 page, because I'll take it down right after. But basically, you search for the business, and you can either do it by CID, by address, or business name. But once you find the business, you do want to verify it. You want to make sure there's a place page that's been a place ID that's been found, a CID that's been found, and there's also a link here that you can click on that actually take you to a place page, so you can verify that that's the business you want to post to. And once you're happy with that, you just click Start Building, and that takes you into our publishing tool. And now, so one of the first things within the publishing tool is to add some 360 images. And for me to do that, Panoskin organizes your images in what are called islands. And that's just, you could think of it like folders for different images. It's just a way to organize your images. So in this instance, I'm going to create an island, and I'm going to call it entrance.
Different groups of images. I just want to
different groups of images. Yes, correct. So it's just a good way to kind of organize you know, different spaces within a building that you shot. Because if you're
first floor, second floor, third floor.
Yes, so pool area, first floor, second floor, rooftop. It's just a way to organize it. And once you've done that, you want to click the plus icon here, and that opens up a little window where you can drag and drop some of the images that you want to use. So in this instance, I'm just going to drag a few images onto here, and it starts uploading them for me. Now, it's worth mentioning that these images that I uploaded are fully stitched panoramas. We do offer a stitching service for anyone that doesn't know how to stitch, and it's panelstitcher.com. And what you do is you can fill out a form and basically you know, provide us your panoramas via Google Drive, and our team will stitch it for you. Now, there's a charge for this. It's about $1 per panorama. But if you don't know how to stitch, you can certainly do that.
Well, for clarification here, for newbies, I think we're for most that are actually perhaps watching the program today, or as a recorded program, today there are more than 70 one-click 360 camera solutions. So whether we're talking about an Insta360 Air, $130 360 camera that attaches to my Android phone, or an Insta360 One standalone camera, a Ricoh Theta S, a Ricoh Theta V, these cameras are doing the stitching of the images already. So if you're using a one-click 360 camera, you already have what Tom is referring to as an equirectangular JPEG or an equirec, or as I might call it, a 360 photo. And so those are, you already have a pre-stitched image if you're using a one-click camera. So I think what Tom might be talking about is if I am using a DSLR camera and I have a special head on my camera and I'm using a fisheye lens and I'm rotating the camera 3, 4, 5, 6 times around, somebody's got to stitch that together, and there's software tools to do that. But if you don't want to do that, then what I'm hearing is Panoskin has a service to do that for $1 per equirectangular JPEG. But I think for most of our newbies, what we're really talking about is it's super easy to get content by buying a camera anywhere from $130 to $100,000. There's so many solutions for under $300, under $500, even under $1,000 to be able to have the content that Tom has just dragged into, and it already is an equirectangular, it already is a 360 sphere.
You're absolutely correct, Dan. And just to show everyone what that looks like, if I were to click on one of these thumbnails, this is what the equirectangular image looks like. And if you were to view it in 360, this is what it looks like when it's in a viewer. But the actual flat file itself, the flat file, this is what it looks like.
Great.
Cool. So what I'll do, Dan, is I'm just going to add another island here, and I'm going to call this one model. Just upload a few more images.
As that uploads, I do want to just mention one other thing. Just kind of piggybacking off what Dan said about the one-shot cameras being readily available to anyone. The cool part about this is that Google opened up Street View to everybody. So anyone can buy a camera, anyone can log in and sign up for Panoskin, and anyone can publish content to Google Maps. So that's the really exciting part.
Yeah, I think I'd add to that is, over time, if you've been studying this space, you get kind of confused that, Google trusted photographer, the rules have changed. Today is Wednesday, December 13, 2017. As Wojciech has said, anyone with any camera can publish to Google Street View. So this is the democratization of being able for Google to be able to map the world of outdoor and indoor spaces, asterisk on indoor, that are considered public spaces.
That's correct.
And Dan, it's worth mentioning too that for existing photographers, that's where I think experience really comes into place, and we're having a portfolio. And something that we're trying to do with Panoskin as well, when we're showing the photographer portfolios, obviously your work is going to speak for itself. The amount of tours that you've published through Panoskin, the ratings that you have, that in itself is going to speak mountains to potential clients. So I think it's worth mentioning that as well. That although Panoskin and Street View are open, it is open to the world. Obviously, for the more experienced photographers, experience does matter as well.
Yeah, well, I'll come back to this because I want to talk to this on a point at length. But let's get into your the Panoskin for Newbies demo.
Sure, awesome. So if I click on Build Tour, so after I upload all my photography, I can reorder the images if I want. I can preview them both as a flat equirectangular image and in 360 view. I can also view some of the raw information on the file. I can also show the scene names or the names of the file that I've uploaded, and I can even change them if I wanted to.
And when I change them here, that's where we were looking in the slideshow view in the Panoskin viewer that's where this name is being used.
Well, those names will transfer over into the custom builder. But there's more than one place. After I publish the tour to Google, we have an analytics section. And when the client logs in to view those analytics, you want to have some type of naming for those scenes. Mm-hmm. And that's where you control that. Now, it defaults to the name of the file, but you have full control over what you want to call this. Does that make sense, Dan?
Perfect. Yeah.
Cool. So the second step the third step is what's called the build tour step. This is where you actually go and build your tour. And one of the first things you want to do is you want to determine what scene you want to start with. And it just so happens that the first scene I want to start with is already selected. But over here to the right, you can kind of click through the different scenes. And once you found the scene that you want to actually start with, and you want to be the first scene within your tour, you want to just click the plus icon on that scene. And what that does is it drops that scene into what we call a staging area, or a preview viewer, where you can preview the tour that you're starting to build out. In addition to that, if you look here to the left, you can see that a constellation was dropped onto this Google map.
Constellation, what is that?
So a constellation is basically, it's just a dot on a Google map. You could think of it, kind of almost like a star constellation where you have different stars connected, but they're basically dots on a Google map, and they're connected. The community just refers to them as constellations.
And so if I have 5 or 6 shots and I link them together, which I believe you're about to do, then we would create one constellation.
Exactly.
That is correct, yes.
Okay.
So now that I got my first scene added, what I want to do is I just want to navigate the viewer to where I think my next scene should go. And you may notice there's this green line here straight through the center. Wherever you're pointing this line, when you add that second scene, that's where the arrow is going to go. So if my next scene is at this doorway here, I really want to, I want to point this green line at the doorway. And then I don't know if you've noticed, but as I'm panning this around, if you take a look at the preview over here, you can see it's also panning around another image. And what Panoskin did is it tried to logically find the next scene that I should connect to.
Wow.
And it's previewing it for me. And as I move this scene around, you can see it's moving the preview around as well. Now, if the scene that Panoskin selected for me is not correct, I can click through the other ones to see if they make sense. And as I move around, it moves around that scene as well. Equally, I can pan around that scene as well myself individually. But Panoskin does try to line up the views for you. Now, in this instance, the first scene that it selected for me was correct. And you can see the second scene here is the doorway. So I put my green line where that arrow would go, and I just click plus on that second scene. And what that does, I don't know if you saw that, Dan, but what Panoskin did is it basically took a look at both of the scenes, and it ran some algorithms. It tried to detect different objects within the scene, and it tried to align them, to align the two 360 scenes. So it did all this in the background, did it automatically for you. And in this instance, it shows this alignment that the next scene, when you enter it, you should be entering it in this position. And one tool that kind of helps you see what that walkthrough will look like is an opacity slider here that we have here at the top. If you grab this and you slide it, you can see what that walkthrough would look like if you were to click an arrow going into the building.
Terrific.
And in this instance, I'm happy with it. If I wasn't happy with the alignment that Panoskin chose, I can either move the opacity to something where I see both scenes, and I can realign that scene. But in this instance, I'm happy with it. So what I do is I just click add. And what that did, Dan, is it added a second constellation onto the map here. And it may be worth noting now that so the active constellation has a little bit of a different icon than an inactive constellation. And what that means is the scene that you're currently on in this viewer. So as you can see that, I'm currently on this second scene that I just added. So that's this constellation over here on the map. So it's got a little bit of a different icon that's basically showing me where I'm looking. So in this instance, you can see that this icon is pointing straight up, or what we consider north. So it's denoting this to show you where you're looking within the scene. Does that make sense, Dan?
Yes.
So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and add my second scene, or my third scene. And as you can see, Panoskin shows this scene over here. It looks like it's correct to me. So I'm just going to click plus. Panoskin does its auto alignment, and then I click add. Now, one thing worth mentioning is we do have some hotkeys. So once you start using Panoskin and you start becoming a power user, if you click the help icon here, or if you press H on your keyboard, you'll see a little help guide that talks a little bit more, gives you a little bit more information about the constellations, talks about islands and how to connect them, our selection tool, and there's a section here for hotkeys. We've got a ton of different hotkeys. And really, I mean, these keys, you know, can make life a lot easier and moderation a lot quicker once you've mastered them. But one of the keys is the F key. So if I press F on my keyboard, it flips my scene 180 degrees. So then I can use that to flip around and just see what my walkthrough looks like. In addition to that, we do have a full screen icon here. If you click on that, it does toggle the experience in the full screen. So you can actually walk that tour in full screen and see what it will look like. Now, I've done a little work here. So one thing that's worth mentioning, Dan, is I do want to save my work. So it's good practice to save as you work.
Will it save automatically at some interval?
So we don't have an auto interval save. You can either click the save icon here,
okay,
or you can press Command S or Control S on Windows, and it'll save your tour. Now, users have requested that option, so we're likely going to create it to where every let's say minute or every 50 seconds it does save the tour for you. So we certainly can add that. It's just not within our tool currently.
Okay.
Now, another thing that's worth mentioning, Dan, is as I was adding these scenes, you can see they're popping up here on the map and here on the left as well. What that means is basically any of these scenes that are here on the right, they won't be published to Street View. Any scenes that you see here on the left that are on the map, they will be. So it's very important to know that. So if I were to save this tour and go to publish right now, it would only publish these 3 scenes. It wouldn't publish the additional 2.
So
No.
I suspect that's a little bit like what you were talking about earlier, Tom, where you could publish the 3 to, or maybe Wojciech had mentioned this, you could publish the 3 to Google Street View, but in your Pano Guide private tour, you could say, oh, I want to use those 2 images for whatever reason.
You're absolutely correct. So,
okay.
So if you want to use that as a way to just, you know, once you upload all your images into the project, and if you want to use that as a way to control what images are being published to Street View and then what images are being used in your custom tour, this is the way you do it. So you would upload those images, the scenes that you want to publish, you would add to the map, and the scenes that you don't would be left here to the right. And then when you go into the custom builder, you'd be able to, select those 2 additional scenes and use those as part of the custom experience.
Cool. I'm with you.
Cool. Awesome. So Dan, you know, I've added 3 scenes here. So there's another feature where you can lock the constellations, and what that basically is once you have a constellation on a map, you can click it and you can start dragging it around. And as you can see, when I start dragging around, the position of the arrow from one scene route to the other changes. Mm-hmm. So to prevent you from accidentally clicking on something and moving it around, we do recommend locking the constellation as you move along. So you can either lock an individual connection by clicking on it. If you click on it, the connection, you can see it turn red. Mm-hmm. So in this instance, it's the connection between this scene and this scene is locked. So if I grab this constellation and start moving it, you can see that right now I'm only moving, the unconnected constellation relative to this constellation. Mm-hmm. Now we also have a feature or tool where if you press either L on your keyboard or if you press this icon here, it locks your entire constellation. Equally, if I press this icon, it unlocks the entire constellation, or I can press U on my keyboard to unlock. So L to lock, U to unlock. So in this instance, I'm gonna press L, and I can move on to adding my next scene. So Now that I've added the next scene, take a look at the alignment. Looks pretty good to me, so I click add.
Now, again, this was auto detect. It knew what the next image was. If it didn't, then I imagine you would just hit the plus button. No, plus would make it the first image in the tour. So I would select the image in terms of what my next target image is to connect in the constellation.
Yes, you select the image that you want to connect, and then for that image that you want to connect, you press the plus icon to connect that image.
You've already set the first image by, that's where we began.
Yes,
anyway.
that is correct.
Okay.
Now, another thing to note too, and this really helps with the moderation for users that may have not shot the photography. Let's say you had someone else shoot it. You know, if you don't know where your next arrow should go, it helps sometimes to look down. And when you look down, you can see where the original tripod was. And if you look at the next scene that I'm about to connect to, if I increase here, you can see that the tripod was in front of the elevator. So in this instance, I know that that photographer was standing in front of the elevator. So I move my green arrow to the elevator because that's where the next connection should go.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little tip that our guys found when moderating.
Okay.
And again, I want to add this next scene here. So I click the plus icon over the thumbnail. And what that does is it loads it into the preview. It does the auto alignment. I can use the opacity to see what that walkthrough would look like. And if I'm happy with it, I click add. Now, one thing that's also worth mentioning here.
It doesn't look like you have the elevator aligned though, does it?
Yeah. So in this instance, it was in this instance the auto alignment wasn't perfect. So what I can do is I can adjust for it. Just move it a little bit to get it to where I'm happy with it.
Right towards the center of the door.
Yeah. So the auto alignment tool is not perfect. It's because again it is using an automatic algorithm, but it is meant to point you in the appropriate direction.
Mm-hmm.
Now it does help if you have GPS with your one-shot camera. What that does is it provides heading information, so it provides compass information for the scene. So the auto align tool will use that alongside the computer vision where it detects the objects. So if you have a one-shot camera with GPS, or if you've got a GPS with DSLR, although GPS isn't 100% accurate, it does have compass information, and it does help the auto align tool. So we certainly recommend including it if you do have it with your scenes. And another thing too, Dan, is you may have noticed the spacing here. That's the spacing between the constellations. Now it defaults to 3 meters because that's what's recommended by Google.
And 3 meters would be about 10 feet. About
10 feet, yes. Now you can select the distance that you want here. One thing that we're working on, we haven't released this yet, but it isn't queue, is during the auto alignment, when we're detecting the objects and doing the alignment, we're also going to be detecting the differences in sizes of the objects and auto calculating the distance for you to kind of help you out. So that's going to be another nice feature that's coming very soon. But for the time being, you do have to select here in the menu the distance that you want to use. Equally, if you do add the scene, you can always move it around as well. So it's not static. It's not stuck there. In
so
space.
two places to move it, either on the constellation map on the left, or when you were setting showing that scale right above the image would be another place where you could set the distance between the images.
That is correct.
Okay.
And the auto align tool is with our second version of it that we're releasing pretty soon. It is going to be calculating the distance for you automatically. So it should do a pretty good job at that.
Wow, that's amazing. It will automatically interpret what the distance was.
Yep.
Wow.
And you'll still have control. So because it is a computer algorithm, so it's not always going to get it right. So you'll still have control if it's not exactly where it needs to be. But it is going to assist in the moderation process.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So in this instance, I've pretty much moderated this tour. So I locked all my scenes. And now what I want to do is I just want to take a look at the map, and I could see that the constellations. The first one always gets dropped on the GPS coordinates of the business. When you add your first scene, that's where your first scene just gets automatically dropped. So in this instance, the whole constellation, it doesn't really make sense after I've built it out. So what I can do is after I lock it, I can just drag it I can drag the constellation anywhere I want on the map.
Mm-hmm.
Equally, what I can do is I can rotate the constellation.
Mm-hmm.
And what that does is it rotates the entire constellation for me. Another cool feature is if I click U to unlock, is our selection tool. And that could either be activated by clicking the selection icon, or I can press S on my keyboard. And what that does is it drops a selection onto my screen. Now, our selection tool has two types of states. It has an inactive state and an active state. The inactive state allows you to resize the selection to whatever you want. The active state is when you actually, it locks the constellation into place. And the way you activate the selection tool is by pressing Shift. So if I press Shift, you can see the color of the selection change to green. And it's now locked into place and active. And what that means is anything that I do with this selection, it's doing to all those constellations. Yes. So if I move that selection around, it's moving those selections. Equally, if I press the L, the lock key, it locks all the selected constellations. If I press the U key, it unlocks. Some other hotkeys, if I press I increases the spacing by 1 meter. So it increases by 1 meter. If I press D, it decreases the spacing by 1 meter.
Or I could drag the distance.
Yes, or you can drag.
I could take two of the points and just create more distance between it.
That is correct, yes. Another way to activate the constellation is if you hold Shift and you drag and you select a certain constellation, then it selects it and activates it automatically. Now let's see where the active and inactive states come in handy. Let's say you didn't select all the constellations you wanted to. Rather than drawing a new selection, you press Shift. That makes it inactive, and you can now, get the other constellation you wanted. Press Shift again, and you have all of them selected.
Okay.
And all this, if you open up our help guide, because I know this is kind of a lot of information. If you click on the selection tool, it mentions all that in there.
Yeah. So you have the both the newbie version, which is I can do this without the power user keys, or as I start going, oh, I'm doing that step all the time, there must be a hotkey for that. Oh, look at that. That's an S or a U or an L or whatever it might be.
Yep, that's correct.
Yep. Okay, got it.
Cool. So now that I've pretty much finished this first level, I'm going to move on to the second one. In this instance, the model unit. So I'll just quickly build this out as well. Click plus for my first scene. Actually, it doesn't look like I uploaded all the scenes, guys. Or did I? No, I did. So I chose the wrong scene. So in this instance, I don't want to go with this scene. I'd like to start with this scene over here.
You could probably just use that one. Just go
yeah, I'm gonna start with this one, Danny. It looks like I'm missing one of the scenes. Sorry about that. So I'll just start with this scene over here. But basically, once I add my first scene that I wanted to add, Panoskin kind of tries to find the second scene for me, which is this one over here.
Mm-hmm.
Click plus to add it. Does the alignment. As you can see, it wasn't perfect, so I just move it to make it a little bit better. Click add. Press F to flip around. Click plus on the next scene that I want to add. Take a look at the alignment. Looks good to me. F to flip. And in this instance, the alignment going into the scene looks good. But if I press F to flip, the alignment going out doesn't look good.
Mm-hmm.
So the way you correct this is you start navigating the scene and moving the green line to where you would like this arrow to be. And once you find that place, you go to the constellation map and you grab the rotate tool and you start moving it until the arrow is aligned with that green line. And once you've done that, you let go, and it's corrected the alignment for you. Does that make sense, Dan?
Complete sense. I think I'd also point out, I believe that those arrows Google calls sergeants. So just in case you're reading some document somewhere and it keeps saying sergeants, it's the arrows that we're looking at now.
Yep. So I'm just going to add one more scene here. Click add. And now that I'm done with this model unit, I'm just going to save my tour. And one thing I'd like to show you, Dan, is now I've got two islands. Panoskin offers a way of connecting these islands. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to take a look at my second constellation here. I'm just going to lock it and just move it into a little bit of a different area on the map. Mm-hmm. So if I were to go back to the entrance, what I can do is kind of like in Photoshop. I can go to the second island that I have, and I can show it on this map by pressing the. Sorry, I'm having a little trouble. The meeting tool appears to be hovering over my image here. But there's a little eye icon. I don't know if you can see it. I'm having trouble clicking it because the meeting tool is in the way. Mm-hmm. But when you click on it, what it does is it actually shows that constellation on the map for you. Equally, there's a hotkey for it. So if I were to press 2, because this is the second island within my tour, it will show that island on my map, and you can see it popped up here when I press 2. If I press 2 again, it hides it. Now I can grab that island and I can drag it somewhere else. And what I can do is I can actually, the reason this is beneficial is I can connect two different islands. So let's say I grouped a few scenes for one area in one island, grouped a few other scenes in another area, and I wanted to connect those two areas. I can pull both of them up on the map by either using the eye icon on the island or pressing the island number on my keyboard, and then I can actually connect those two islands. And the way you do that is you hold Shift and you hover over the constellation you want to connect to. And what that does is it displays a dotted line. And if you're happy with that connection, you just click the dotted line and it makes that connection for you. Mm-hmm.
So earlier we were looking at different floors in the building. So this would be the equivalent.
Yes. So this would be a way of connecting floors. It would be a way of connecting areas. Let's say you've got a fitness area on the bottom floor, but you've got a pool outside. Maybe you organized all your scenes for the pool in one island and all the scenes for the fitness center in another island, but you want to be able to connect them.
So will this enable me to walk from one island to the other?
Yes. So in this instance, the connection doesn't make sense, but you can see it drop the arrow here.
Yeah.
I can walk.
Got it. Okay. Great.
So you get the benefit of these islands here where you can organize the scenes and still connect them. So that's why that exists. And again, I can toggle the visibility of this by pressing the little eye icon here, or by using my keyboard. So in this instance, it's the second island. So by pressing 2, it toggles the visibility. Mm-hmm.
Another kind of example of how you would use this, if let's say you're shooting a property that has a first level and then you're shooting the second level, and between them there's an elevator, right? So you can kind of point the arrow towards the elevator, you hit the arrow, and then it takes you upstairs and you're on the second floor. And then I can make your way back by clicking again on the elevator. So we've done
I love that. Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So I'm just going to remove this connection because it doesn't make sense. And the way you do that is you just right click on the connection. And that works for regular connections too, whether they're between islands or whether they're between just scenes. By right clicking on the connection, you can remove the connection. And now once I'm ready with my tour, I just click save. And all that's left to do is just to publish to Google. Mm-hmm. And actually, before I do that, one other step that's worth noting here is we do have a shared tour preview link. So if you click this, what it'll do is it'll open up a separate link for you. And that gives you a tour preview of this tour. And as you can see, all the islands I created here, the entrance and the model unit are available here. So I can select which one I want. In addition to this, you may see a little tip that comes up here. It says customize this page in your account settings. Now I'm going to get into this a little bit later on, but I just want to show you just a quick example. If I go to my account settings, I can actually control the branding of that preview page. So in this instance, I've got the Panoskin logo at the top. Maybe I don't want any logo, and maybe I want the header image to be red instead. I click save, and now if I were to go back to this tour and refresh the screen, you can see that Panoskin logo is gone, and the headers are red now.
So you're creating a link that can be shared with the client for approval before it gets published to Google Street View.
Yes. And you have full control over this. And as you can see, there's a login button here. If they click login, it'll take them to the login screen where they can log in to view analytics. Now you have control over that too. If you don't want your clients logging in, you just deselect that you don't want them logging in, and it'll hide the login button. Equally, you can hide the entire header preview just by selecting that to no. And if I refresh that screen, you can see that that's been updated.
Yeah.
So you have full control over what this preview looks like. And as you said, Dan, just share this link with your client, and they'll be able to preview the tour before it's being uploaded to Google.
Okay, great. Okay, so clients approve the tour. Now what?
Now you go to the publish step.
Okay.
And all you do is click publish. But before I do that, it's worth mentioning nadirs.
Yes.
So nadirs are basically something that gets appended to the bottom of the scene to hide where the tripod was. So in this instance, you can see this tripod area. You might not you wouldn't want this in a final scene that gets sent to Google. So there's a few ways to hide that. One way is to upload your own branded photography. So you can upload a nadir that overlaps this, and you can do that both on the account level and on the tour level. And what the account level nadir is, and maybe it helps if I open up a separate tab to show you. Under the branding section, you can create a nadir, which is basically just a circular image that hides that tripod, and you can add a default nadir for your company. So you just upload that here. So in this instance, I actually created one for you, Dan. I'll upload it real quick.
This is a great way to brand your tours and have your branding on Google Maps as well.
And what does Google allow?
Actually, they've become much more, I don't know what the right word is, lenient, I guess, in terms of the branding. You can have your logo, you can have your website address, you can even have your phone number on there.
For Google, and they're cool with that.
They're cool with it so far. They might change their minds, but
that never happens.
Yeah.
So okay, so that's great. So add a logo, add a website address, add an email, add a phone number, whatever it might be, either for the photographer or for the client, or if it's somehow a hybrid of the two.
That's correct. And within Panoskin, you can add an account level nadir. So this is a default nadir for all my tours, if I want to use that. And when I'm publishing the tour, I get to select what type of nadir I want to use. Do I want to use the account level, or do I want to use the tour level? A tour level is basically, we provide you the ability of uploading your own custom nadir just for that tour. So let's say that your client wants to have their own logo at the bottom of their tour. You can charge them, you can charge them a fee to create the nadir, and then you can just upload it here and use that tour level nadir instead.
Okay.
In addition, there's two other options here. None doesn't create any type of nadir. So let's say you've created your own nadir in some other type of editing software. You could select none, or a default stretch blur nadir. And what this is it's basically the old nadir that Google used to create, for scenes when you uploaded them. And what it does is it basically tries to get rid of that tripod area with a stretch blur.
Is there a preview to look at the nadir types?
So we don't have a preview just yet.
Okay.
We are working on one. But one thing we do let you control though, Dan, is the size of the nadir. So the default is 13% of the size of the image. And that typically handles most tripods. But if you want, if you could always control the sizes. You can make it smaller, you can make it larger.
Presently, I got to publish to Google Street View before I know whether it was right or not.
Yes, that's correct. And if you're and Dan, what we found, if you're shooting from the same equipment, typically, your nadir size is going to be pretty standard.
Okay.
So you can test this out a few times and really find what works for you.
Okay, got it.
What's also cool is we offer the position, whether you want the nadir to be appended to the bottom or the top. And where this makes sense is if you shot some imagery with drones, then the nadir really is the drone on the top. It's not, there's no tripod on the bottom.
Okay.
So we allow you to control the position as well.
Okay.
And then once that's done, I just click publish. And in this instance, the tour is on its way. So it's saying it's publishing scene 1 from the entrance island.
And
publishing scene 2.
Once it says done, how do I know when it'll be on Google?
So you'll see that once this is finished publishing, you're going to get a status. It's going to show you that it's been published. Now we are working on some email settings. We haven't released this yet.
Is the status a pop-up, or is the status an email that I'm receiving?
So it'll be on your screen. So you'll see
okay.
Done publishing. It'll say that, hey, it's finished publishing.
But how do I know when it's like live on Google?
So the panoramas show up instantly. Now the connections and levels do take a little bit of time. I've personally found from tours that I've moderated that connections between scenes can take a few hours to show. It could be up to 24 to 48 hours, equally for levels as well. And
do I get an email from Google that says, "Good news, your tour is now live"?
Unfortunately, no. The only email I've gotten from Google is if a scene's been up and it's been getting a lot of impressions, and I'm sure you've gotten those too, Dan. Then Google just sends you a nice email saying, "Hey, you're doing great. These scenes have been getting this many."
Okay, so it's up to me to check maybe the next 24 hours, next 48 hours, and then once it's live, then I can go back to the client and say, "Good news, it's live on Google."
That is correct. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So in this instance, it's the publish step is almost done. It's just updating the scenes connections.
Was there someplace? Was there an option for blurring a face?
Yes. And unfortunately, I can't do it right now because I just published.
That's fine, but there is a tool for blurring faces. Anything I want to blur before I upload it to Google.
Yes. So under the upload to photos section, you can see there's a blur icon here, and if I click it, it's going to give me a message I can't blur because the scene's already on Google.
Yes.
So our Panoskin's already sent the scenes to Google. So if you want to blur that scene, you do have to unpublish your tour or just unpublish that particular scene. And it actually may be worth mentioning this because a lot of our users, they think if they want to make an edit just to one scene, they think they have to go and unpublish the entire tour. That's not the case.
Okay.
The way you with Panoskin, you can remove individual scenes and then republish them. And the way you do that is you go to your build tour step. And remember, Dan, how I told you everything that's to the left gets sent to Google? Yes. And everything that to the right, it doesn't. So if I wanted to remove this scene over here, let's say this fourth scene, and blur it, I could just click the little minus icon here, and it takes it off of, it took it off of my map. Yeah. Moved it over here to the right. And then what I would do is I would click save. I'd go to my publish step and then click publish one more time, not unpublish, because unpublish takes down your entire tour. Click publish, and what it does is it publishes the changes you've made. In this instance, I told Panoskin I don't want that scene on Google, and it'll just take that scene down for me. Yes. And then once it's taken down, I can either replace it with another image, I could blur it, I can I can also put a different nadir on there. Let's say that you want the stretch nadir on all your scenes, but maybe you want a branded logo nadir on the first scene when you first walk in. You can certainly do that as well. You can, when you're republishing that scene that you just took down, you can select the type of nadir you want for it.
Tom, can you go to the second island, because there's a scene there that you did not publish, and we can show the.
No, you're right. One. Okay. Yep. Yeah, so you're right. So it does take a little bit of time for it to load because we do real-time blurring.
So it could take about 20 to 30 seconds for the image to load.
Mm-hmm.
Give it a second here. Now we are working.
Bringing it into an editor of some sort that lets us do the blur.
Yes, it's sort of like Photoshop. So really, once you've got the scene open, you've got the pan tool, which allows you to pan around.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a blur tool. If you click on it, it gives you a little tooltip. And there's two ways to blur. You can either select the exact area you want to blur, like I just did right here, and it blurs that. Or what you can do is you can draw an area. So I can draw an area that I want to blur, and Panoskin will blur just that area.
Yep.
Equally, there's an eraser tool. So let's say maybe I didn't want to get this whole area. Maybe I only wanted half of this. I can draw an area over there, and it removes that half of the blur.
Yes.
And then once you're done, you just click save, and it pushes that image up to Panoskin. And then when you republish, it publishes the image with these blurs.
So I then move it from the right side to the left side. Then I could go publish again.
That is correct. Yes.
Okay.
And typically our users, what they do is when you go into Panoskin, you can click on your image and you can kind of pan through the images. And before they start building, they basically determine, okay, well, in this image there's a license plate, or in this image there's a person. So before they start building the tour, they start blurring their images.
Yeah. Now we've just used Panoskin. Is there a name for the back end?
So this is just the admin section. So,
okay, so the Panoskin admin, in order to publish to Google Street View. Now, how about a Panoskin tour? Is it exactly the same thing, but I have some other options I can do in order to create the
Sure. So the actual custom tour builder, I can't show that to you today because it's not finalized for the community yet. But it is just as intuitive. It's just as simple to use. I mean, the tooling is I mean, I think.
And that's the piece that's going to be ready in the second quarter, and then I would be able to annotate. What I think you called it hotspots. I could add hotspots and maybe additional content that's not in what I'm publishing to Google Street View.
That is correct. Yes.
Okay. Great.
One other section worth mentioning here, Dan, is the analytics section. So if I click on analytics, you can see these scenes have already been published. So it gives me some of the impression count that Google is sending back.
Mm-hmm.
And the first screen here it shows me it rates the scenes, and you can see these are my top 3 scenes right now. But I can also click and go into the scene analytics tab, and it shows me the remaining scenes and how many views they've had. Equally, I can view the image. So I click view, it takes me to that scene.
On Google Maps, yeah.
On Google Maps.
Okay.
And if I scroll down, you can see, so this particular scene actually had a different nadir before. That's why you see that blur here, the blue here, because the scene that I uploaded already had a nadir. But let me go to a scene that didn't have one. So this one, for instance, didn't for the entrance area.
And we can't walk the constellation because that could take 24 or 48 hours to happen.
That is correct. Yes.
Okay.
So you can see the stretch nadir was added to this scene, and then the connections will show typically after a few hours, but can be up to 24 to 48.
Okay. Okay. Terrific.
Now, one thing that Dan, I kind of want to touch on. So this is the tool that allows you to publish to Google. I do want to talk a little bit about branding and the ability of creating user logins for your clients. So going back to the dashboard, I showed you how you can create a tour.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a client list. So if you click on my clients, it shows you the clients that you have, and it shows you the number of Google tours that you've built for them, the number of users that they have, and the number of custom tours. Now, if I click into the custom tour builder, it says that it's coming. So you can't build the tours yet. But if I click into the Google section, it shows you the Google tour that you just created. In addition, if I click into the user section, it shows you any users that you've created for the client. And this is something we released last night for the community. So maybe I'm just going to create a test user login right now. Call this as client. Now, the email is optional. I'm just gonna put in a random email here.
This is nice.
What you share with your client, and then you're going to set the permissions of what they have access to see, so that they can't see all the other clients' work, only can see their work. So that is either by tour or by is there a folder metaphor? I don't know what to ask.
Well, so in terms of the access control, whatever users you've created for this client, they can only see the client tours for that client.
Okay, great.
Now, what I was talking about the access control, which we haven't fully released yet to the community. You'll be able to control what users for that client can view what tours. So if this client has 20 different users, let's say it's some big company, and maybe you want their marketing team to have access to all the tours, but you want to restrict access to some of the tours to some of the other users, you'll be able to do that.
Okay, terrific. Are we up to pricing? Or more to show us?
So I'd like to show you the branding really quickly and what that looks like. So if you go into the account settings here and click on branding, you can brand the entire interface. So just like you branded I showed you branding of the standalone pages, you can brand both the admin section and the login screen and everything you really see within Panoskin. So one thing I'm going to do really quick, Dan, is I'm just going to upload a few logos here. So I'm going to upload my main logo, which in this case is going to be the We Get Around logo.
A very, very pretty logo.
It is a very pretty logo.
Yes.
And then I'm going to upload an inverted logo, which is basically it's just a logo that would look good on dark backgrounds. So I have two types of logos here. And let's say I want to update the branding here for the sidebar. You can see this Panoskin here. Well, I can click on the sidebar menu. It takes me to all the styles that I can control for the sidebar. Right now, the logo is set to Panoskin, but I could set it to my inverted logo. And if I click Save, it updated that. So now if I refresh the Panoskin dashboard, and I open up the side menu here, you can see the We Get Around logo here showing up. In addition to that, what I can do is I can brand the login screen. So on the login screen here, you can see it's defaulting to Panoskin, but maybe I want to set it to my inverted logo again. So I select that, and then I click Save. And what this stuff below here is so we give you a URL that you can share with your clients if you want, or we give you some embed code. So let's say you've got a website, you can actually embed a login button. You can embed a login button in an HTML email. You can embed it into your website. But once you've styled your login screen and you either embed that button or you share that URL is branded. So you can see the We Get Around logo here. In addition to that, you can change the colors out. Let's say I want this to be orange, more of an orange. I can do that. Let's say that maybe I don't want that moving graph background. I just select that to none, and then I click Save. And if I refresh the screen here, you can see I've just updated what the login screen looks like. Now, what I'm going to do real quick, Dan, is I'm just going to open up an incognito window because I want to log into this as the client that we just created.
Yes.
So a second here. Oh, I know why. Okay. A second.
So as Tom does that, so the whole reason we're doing all this and giving all these options to brand and change the logos and well, two main reasons. Panoskin, our end goal is to create this enterprise solution, this end-to-end solution where all these content creators can manage everything from A to Z with their 360 tours that end up on Google or managing their Google content all the way through to creating custom virtual tours for their clients. And we have a lot more different things in mind that we want to do. And we also want to show the community that we're not, there definitely is questions. And Tom, you can log in. Go ahead. There's definitely questions around, us being LCP and 360 and Panoskin. We're an agency, and we're trying to be very clear that Panoskin really is meant as a community tool, and we're trying to give our enterprise people that want to use this as an enterprise tool, which is what it's meant for, the ability to customize pretty much everything in this.
Yeah, as I'm looking at it, I go, oh, this is great. It's a white label. It's my brand. It's not it's LCP 360. It's not Panoskin. It is We Get Around Atlanta.
That's correct,
it's
Dan.
very, very, very nice to have a white label with the custom branding option, so that if we do use this as a way to pre-share content with clients or give them an access to their dashboard of their metrics, they're not looking at it and go, oh, LCP 360, oh, I should talk to them about shooting my tours instead of We Get Around Atlanta. They're only seeing We Get Around Atlanta.
Yep. Exactly, Dan. So by being able to do that and giving your clients logins, and again, this is optional, you don't have to do it, but when you do that, you can now have a reason to charge some residual hosting or residual licensing, because you're offering a dashboard where the client can log in and they can view their analytics, they can view their tours, they have the meeting tool where they can walk through someone through a space and try to lease space. And it's all branded your brand as well. Mm-hmm. That being said, I just logged in as a client into this system, and as you can see, the dashboard looks a little bit different. There's no create a tour button or anything like that. It gives me a plan overview, which tells me how many tours I can have, and all these settings. And I could show you when we log back in under the previous account. You can control this. You can control how many Google tours you want to create for the user, how many you can control how many custom tours they can have, you can control how many users they can create for themselves.
So is Panoskin presently or will be used not only to publish Google Street View tours, but photos?
So it's interesting that you mentioned that, Dan, because part of the thing that we're working on next is a payment system. So if you want to use Panoskin for your client to download photos and to pay you for those photos, we will have that availability, whether it's for 360 photography or for just still photography. You will be able to do that with Panoskin.
And so will I also be able to publish those images to Google, to Google Street View, Google Street View for inside?
So we are working at, we haven't integrated with the My Business API just yet, but we are working on that where we can actually publish still images as well, and not just 360 photography.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like what Wojciech was describing is a one-stop platform to manage all your content, and I think you've alluded to now also a way to deliver content to clients. I imagine, probably jumping ahead here, but the images are all watermarked with We Get Around until the client actually pays us, and once they pay us, the download will take out that ginormous We Get Around logo in the smack in the middle of the artwork, waiting to get paid.
That is correct.
Like that.
That is correct. And so Dan, just getting back to the dashboard here. The client, they don't have any publishing tools. They don't have any of the tools that you have. They basically can log in and kind of just take a look at the status of their account. They can click on My Tours, and it shows them all the tours they have. In this instance, they don't have any custom tours, so they won't be able to view those. But they do have a Google tour that we created for them. And you can click in there, and they'll be able to view their analytics.
That's amazing looking. The numbers are already going through the roof here.
Yeah.
So.
So maybe some of the users that are
all the We Get Around, all WGAN-TV Live at 5 viewers are now searching for LCP 360 in Chicago in order to view these amazing equirectangular JPEGs that you're demonstrating. Yes, that must be what's happening right now.
Yes.
Okay, are we up to pricing?
Sure. Yeah. So the only last thing I just wanted to mention, Dan, is they can view the analytics and also download the scenes as well.
So you've given, but in that case, I have the choice of giving the client permission or not permission to download the individual content.
So right now it's on by default, but we
Okay.
can make it a setting to where this doesn't show. So let's say you want to charge for the download, we can do that. It's just we don't have the functionality yet.
Okay.
But for the time being, the client can log in. They can view the tour. They can view the analytics. They can download the scenes. And what this really does, Dan, is it creates an environment to where now you've added a value add for the client, where they feel like, you know, if you're charging them some type of residual hosting, I mean, they have something that they're paying for. You know, they've got a dashboard they can log into where they can view analytics on both their custom tours and their Google tours. They can download scenes. And with the custom builder, when we release it, you know, hopefully maybe we could do another screencast. We'll show you the client will have access to actually controlling some parts of the tour. So maybe if you want to give them the ability to change the logo out or changing some of the colors, you will be able to do that as well.
Yes, in fact, I hope in the, trying to get all my names correctly here, the Panoskin builder or Panoskin custom builder comes out in the second quarter of 2018. I hope you will come back to WGAN TV Live at 5 so we could perhaps premiere the latest and greatest from Panoskin. So,
no, definitely, we'd love to come back.
Okay, are we up? Great. Are we up to pricing?
We're up to pricing, yes.
Okay, fantastic. So, and so let's take us to a pricing page and feature set, et cetera. We'll look at that as you take us through. But I just want to give you my comment that this is amazing. It is very exciting. This is very empowering to a photographer to be able to shoot 360s, whether it's with the DSLR camera or with a point and shoot at an under $300, under $500 camera. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that after you do pricing, but take it. What's this cost?
Sure. So we have two options. We have a free option and a pro option. So the free option really exists. I mean, for anyone that's just getting started, that wants to try the tool out and.
So the print can be very small on television. So let me go ahead and read through this. So the free option is $0 per month, and it includes 5 published tours to Google Street View. Any additional tours per month would be a one-time $5 per tour charge. It includes basic email support, unlimited clients, unlimited Pano uploads, panorama backup. So you're backing up in the cloud. We won't talk about what's not included because we'll move to the pro plan and talk about what's included. If you could scroll to the top of that, the pro plan.
Sure.
So I'm reading Panoskin Pro Plan, $10 per month. The Pro includes, instead of 5 published tours, 20 tours published to Google Street View. In additional tours, instead of being $5 or $1, priority email support, unlimited clients, unlimited Pano uploads, panorama backup. And now here are the additional features that are not included in the free, which is the blurring tool, the nadir patching, the import tool. I don't know what that was. Import tool meant.
Remember, we were
showed the importing of an existing Google tour.
Okay. Got to be on the pro plan in order to do that. Okay. So the import tool, download uploaded panorama. So presumably, if I'm on Google Street View and I want to download the panoramas, I need to be on the pro plan.
Yes, and that's for both. And that's for both types of panoramas. That's for both the panoramas that are on Google with the nadir, and also downloading your backed up panoramas, because we do back up the original panorama that you uploaded.
Okay, got it. So if I in my library of a gazillion 360s have misplaced something, I actually can come back to the library and download it from the library.
Yes. And where that's nice, Dan, is if you download from Google, you're downloading with the nadir, and when you're downloading the backup, you're downloading without the nadir. So that's where that becomes in handy. So.
Okay, terrific. It also includes the addition of scene analytics that you're just taking us through, creating client users and logins, adding either the photographer's brand or the client's brand, which could be a hybrid of the two. Client previews for tours. So you were showing how you can share the tour with the client to approve before it goes to gets published to Google Street View, and the custom builder, which is scheduled to be delivered in second quarter 2018.
That is correct.
Yep.
Terrific. I have some additional remarks before we close, but is there anything else that you wanted to show, tell, demo, discuss?
No, the only thing I just wanted to mention, Dan, is that for current users, they do have a 30-day trial. So all the tools that you mentioned there for Pro, they do have 30 days to try it all out. So if you haven't already, I mean, please go to panoskin.com, sign up, and try out some of our Pro tools.
And I see there's also an annual plan as well, so you can save 2 months free if I did the math correctly.
Yes, yes. In addition to that, we've got Panoskin users around the world. And we realize that this hosting may be a little hard for some people in certain regions. So we do offer a discount, a 50% discount for certain countries. And if you click this link here, it links to a knowledge base article where we mention the countries where we do give a discount to our users. So,
okay. I live in the South in the United States, so that's kind of a different planet. Does that count for stand on my left foot? I get a discount? No. So I did want to paint kind of just a big picture. When I look at something like this, and earlier I said this is about the democratization of publishing to Google Street View, and I understand there's a balance because there's been professional photographers who do awesome work with the DSLR camera and will continue to do that, and clients will look for that level of quality. At the same time, I can imagine for the We Get Around Network Forum community that many are coming to the community, perhaps heard about Matterport, trying to make a decision. Do I buy a Matterport camera? Is there some other solution? And is it either all or none? I'm either doing it or I'm not. And I think taking a look at something like Panoskin says, maybe you can put your toe in the water first and start experimenting. So you don't have to go out and buy, $3,500 in a Canon, Mark 3, 4, 5D, whatever it is, and the rotator cuff and the fisheye lens and, everything else. You can just go buy, a $300, a Ricoh Theta 5, an ION 360, a Insta 360 Air, whatever it is. And now either on the free plan, or if you get to the next level and you maybe want to take advantage of all that for $10 a month, you're in business. $300 camera, $350 camera, $10 a month, and you now have an ecosystem, a platform to be able to shoot, view, share, publish to Google Street View, publish to be able to take the iframe and be able to embed, I'm going to call it the Panoskin player, be able to embed the Panoskin viewer player, be able to embed that into a client's site. Now, I understand that there's this little, okay, here we have professional photographers been doing this for a while, do amazing work, and then maybe over here, we have somebody who's a newbie that's just starting out with a camera. But I think what this says for someone who's just starting out, that there's a roadmap, and to say, whatever your workflow is with a $350 360 camera, it's going to be the same roadmap, the same workflow, probably a better term, the same workflow for saying, okay, I figured this out, but my clients are asking for better quality. So, okay, maybe I now need to buy an $800, a $900, a $1,000, and certainly prices seem to be coming down and quality seems to be getting better. So I would just ask that, for the We Get Around Network Forum community, if you don't have a 360 camera, you should be buying a 360 camera and starting out with Panoskin in order to, test, learn, get experience, understand the workflow, and knowing that you may have a client that says, well, it kind of looks a little grainy or it's not as sharp as I thought it could be. That, okay, now you can start, you say, I got a business, I understand, I can go now start doing that. And I could, Wojciech, why don't you maybe talk a little bit about it, maybe a real estate agent, when in your mind, and and they watched all 2.5 hours of our program, today, because I know everyone's hanging on every word of everything that's been said here. What, like, if you're a real estate agent, what does this mean?
Well, I mean, it means that you can immediately start creating just amazing virtual tour content for the properties that you want to showcase, and it's accessible. When I started this 6 years ago, we would charge $300 per spin. So one 360 was $300. Now you can do it with your phone. I mean, it's insane. And for having a platform like this just allows you to get it out into the world and share it with everyone that you want to share it with. So I mean, I think it's amazing. I can't wait to see where these cameras progress. I hope to see a lot of users from our end come from that section of the industry where they're buying these one-shot cameras, and then they're creating virtual tours of whatever they're looking to create tours of. So yeah, I agree with everything you said.
Which is interesting, because if I'm a real estate agent, I'm probably thinking I'm probably a little bit of a geeky real estate agent, and say, okay, I get it. I'm kind of I'm into this. I'll go do this. But as soon as I do that and I realize I'm doing it for my clients, I imagine that there's other real estate agents that say, hey, I see what you're doing. How'd you do that? And then you say, well, I'm happy to do that for you. I charge for that. And oh, by the way, I can put it on, publish it to Google Street View. So all of a sudden you have this ancillary business in addition, perhaps, to the real estate. Now, I'll put all that aside for a second. I understand that, there are many We Get Around Network Forum visitors to our site. Is today is like 10,500 visitors a month that are trying to make decisions about what camera to buy, what platform to do, and so now just to see that there's this spectrum of being able to say, okay, if Matterport is here, maybe I don't need to jump all immediately to Matterport. I can test, learn, try for under $300 and $10 a month. I'm in business, and then I can see how this is going, and and would it be an advantage to maybe upgrade to Matterport? Maybe not. So I just find this, I can't get the words out. I think of this as this whole business is a pyramid, and the top of the pyramid has been maybe the priesthood of the professional photographers who've been rotating around. And now with these 360 cameras, it's possible. We don't even need your dollar stitching. I just go buy a 360 camera. But that said, the day I realize I don't have the right quality, and I have a DSLR camera, and I go and invest in a fisheye lens or something, maybe I don't want to become an expert in stitching. And that was something I was doing 4 years ago. And I'll tell you, it was not something if I knew that for a dollar a holler, you would, stitch my panos, I would have gladly, uploaded them all, and paid you to do that. But so I just, pardon?
I said not 4 years ago. 4 years ago, it would have been more expensive.
Yes, I know. I had some very big projects where I had to engage another pro for the two of us to in order to make a deadline. So anyway, so I just so excited, listening and watching your demo and what you're talking about, because I do think that this enables an entire new generation of photographers, real estate agents, whatever it is, to be able to say this is accessible, and it's accessible at a price point that is not saying, it's not saying, okay, I got to go spend $10,000 and $50 a month in order to test the waters. No, I can, for under $300 and $10 a month, or free for that matter, but I think the right plan is probably to be on the $10 a month. I can be in business, and everything that I learn, that workflow is going to apply as I decide to progress to a better camera and a better camera, or to a DSLR camera, or whatever it might be. So this is very exciting. I think you all are, probably just like bouncing off the walls. And I don't know what you're doing talking to me for 2.5 hours, because I think you got to get done with this, Panoskin builder, and get it out sooner than later, because it all sounds very exciting.
Thank you, Dan. Dan, everything you said, I agree with 100%. I think the only thing that I would add is we've certainly lowered the barrier to entry with Panoskin. You can get a one-shot camera, you can use it, you can start in this business. But I also think it's important to mention that
everybody gets the run for the men's room, or at least I do.
Thanks, Dan.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.